that, so the bank for you to find out about that, because people get a little frustrated, so if the process can be simplified, right, a little bit, and then maybe some guidance within the bank in terms of helping them, speaking to the people a little more about their business, because people need the financing. They need it. Is welcome news that you're going to put an additional $3 million for medium-sized businesses. 30 million, right, for medium-sized businesses, because I mean the 15, like for instance me, I cannot go for $15,000. I'll finish that in a day.
But we'll come back to you, Emil. Let's take a 2-minute break, and then we'll come back to continue the conversation. Thank you much. Okay. You want to weigh in?
I am Alec Athanas, and I'm from the village of Granby. I want to say that I am farming since 25 years, and that's a thing I keep enjoying. But since after Hurricane Maria, I had a loss of plants, and I had to restart. I always require to have a reasonable amount of plant, which at this time I don't have the amount I wanted. I had to, from what I had during the hurricane, I had to distribute and give to many farmers. Because why? I want some farmers to come on the line that they can have also. I do not want me to be the only farmer. And so I think in that, I do the tanya, I do the ginger, and I do the yam, I do plantain, I also do sweet potatoes, not even regular, but I do sweet potatoes. And I've been doing pretty well. So I think at that point, as this World Bank thing came up there, that was a brighten up for a person like me. That it enhanced me, that the tools I've gotten there, and the fertilizers and the chemicals is just going to brighten me a little more. So I just keep shopping up and planting and opening up the place. It's like life has come up to me. As I said one of those times, guys, like you were somebody, I was somebody drowning, and some hand just came out and took me from under the water and brought me forth and gave me life. And I saw that is what the World Bank has been doing for me personally. It has have me up, and in every area the World Bank looks into and to help the farmer. I am so pleased and so glad about it. So I just keep doing everything that I see possible to do. And the thing I have in focus again is to encourage farmers. If one farmer says anything bad, that this farmer is just a farmer by name, but not a real farmer, because you cannot say anything bad about that. No, you can't say that. I have said to you, it's exciting to be part of that, and to know that the World Bank cares about people like that, in that category.
We are in the hurricane season. Here are some tips to keep your families and communities safe. Before a hurricane, ensure that you know your emergency shelters. Contact the Office of Disaster Management for information on shelters closest to you. Have disaster supplies on hand. Non-perishable canned food and water. Portable battery-operated radios. Flashlights and extra batteries, essential medicines, first aid kits, cash and bank cards. In the home, protect your windows. A low-cost approach is to put up plywood panels. Trim branches away from your home and cut all dead or weak branches on any trees on your property. Check into your home and auto insurance. Confirm that policies are valid and coverage is appropriate. Make arrangements for pets and livestock. Develop an emergency communication plan. Make sure that all family members know what to do. Teach family members how and when to turn off gas, electricity, and water. During a hurricane watch, listen to the radio or television for hurricane progress reports. Avoid open flames such as candles and kerosene lamps as a source of light. If power is lost, Turn off major appliances to reduce power surge when electricity is restored. Store drinking water in clean jugs, bottles, and cooking utensils. During a hurricane warning, if you need to evacuate your home, lock up and go to the nearest shelter. Take blankets or sleeping bags to the shelter. Listen constantly to a radio or television for official instructions. Store valuables and personal papers in a waterproof container on the highest level of your home. Stay inside, away from windows and glass doors.
I have met hundreds of small business owners, and they have told me, when I've realized that the main theme of those discussions is really the issue of financing and access to financing. And I want to find out from our guests here, our friends here, what are the recommendations as to how we can overcome those challenges and the difficulties which you've experienced. I mean, in your opening remarks, you indicated the long period you had to wait to access the financing and even not accessing the entire amount which you requested.
Yes, PM. Well, as I said, I went to the aid bank and then I requested a loan, the capital that I needed for my business. And then they said that they had no faith in my business. Although I put up all the security that was needed, I gave them all the documents, I had my business plan and everything, and they said they only gave me a small amount of money, or about $110,000. And that was nowhere close to buying the equipment and the stuff I needed for Crispies. Crispies fries about $50,000. So I had to now work with the $110,000 and buy some used equipment, and then you know what that is. After a couple months, the equipment started breaking down. I had to fly in parts. I had to work with one fryer, and it's a lot of service. But I think what the government should do is probably not too much red tape when you go into, in a situation like that, when you're trying to get a loan to do a business. The government should put processes in place that could shorten the time frame to accessing those loans. I know the bank need their security. They came up to PD7, they saw the property, they saw the houses on the property. Everything was there, and then that was the security that I needed, plus of course a down payment which I gave them, and it took so long. I had to pay rent on that bill for 6 months on my pocket. And then it took me almost a year for me to get that money from Aid Bank. Wow. And all that time I had that building, I had to pay for it. I started setting up. And even after I got that loan and I got a lot of the stuff that I needed, I still had to wait. I am online and I'm just saying everything,
No.
I had to wait. I mean, my husband had to actually work because he was working on a ship, as you know, and then actually wait for his salary. When he gets his salary, he sent it to me. That is how we had to, put things and to start to open up Crispies.
Thank you.
It was difficult.
Emil, you want to weigh in on this question?
Yes, PM. You see, again, someone like Mrs. Moore is applying for $400,000 and getting $110,000 is setting her up to fail, right? It is setting her up to start a race with a broken leg. And then that could only mean further problems down the road. It is something that has happened in the past to many people. It has happened to me. I'm sure it has happened to Ambo, Yuri, or anybody who goes to take a loan. You set up, you pay somebody to do a business plan as she would have done, do all the market research and everything. So if the market research says that she requires $400,000, right? How do we get at 110,000 when she has the security and has all of the market research? You know, there are certain things that the banks would have to do internally, but I think there needs to be some more marketing minds maybe employed in there, or people who can come and go over the research. How do they view her competition, for example, right? That is making X amount. So her competition is bringing in, let's say, $1 million a month. And then you now telling her that she's coming to compete, and then she cannot access a loan of $400,000. You know, so that is a common problem that people have with the banking institutions. Another thing, as she rightfully said, the amount of time that it takes, right, to get that money. And as we were speaking earlier, before I came here, there's a young lady who was telling me to ask to find out, you know, it's been 3 weeks and she hasn't gotten any feedback as yet. What can be done in terms of the feedback, or giving people regular feedback as to when they will get that loan, what is happening, etc., so they can know what to do. But just no response for 6 months to a year is really discouraging for a business person. And I'm sure the other people here would want to weigh in on something like that.
Yuri?
Yeah, and I think to me that's probably the biggest issue, is the communication or lack thereof. Also, when you consider different businesses and timelines and windows that they're working with, when you go to a bank knowing that in 2 months you're going to need that money on your account to make a certain purchase because of X, Y, Z, but the bank doesn't consider or acknowledge that short window, or it's not something that they have as a priority, you as the business person or potential entrepreneur, you know, you stand to lose out, because that bank showed no urgency. And what you find is sometimes there's what you call stringing along. Yes, I'm working on it, yes, I'm working on it. But nothing definite, nothing concrete in terms of, okay, well, what is the actual status? Is a document missing? Do you need to see more security? You know, I think most business people or entrepreneurs, somebody starting off, they would prefer that type of candid feedback on what the actual status is, compared to something more generic, like, yes, we're working on it, advisor has it, or yes, it's being reviewed. Because if you're saying yes, it's being reviewed, but that's the state it's at for the last 2 weeks, then something should be wrong. If that's your regular process, well, then you can probably let me know that. But if you want to use an example, like right now, like Amy mentioned, the young lady we spoke with, I know quite a few people who showed interest in the $15,000 loan at 8 Bank, myself included, and even after going through the processes as directed, we've been unable to get any feedback. And that's fine. Like Emily said, I know the banks would have their internal processes and you know, T's to cross, I's to dot. I worked at a bank for many years, so I know. However, feedback and a more concrete timeline is what would help entrepreneurs, business people understand what they're doing, understand why it might be taking a bit longer. Because at the end of the day, it's very discouraging. And I'm pretty sure that many business people, some of them just give up rather than persisting. Because, you know, especially if you're probably trying to do something on this side, you might be taking time away from your regular job, you know, having to go to meetings or stealing time to make calls and, you know, that sort of thing. And at the end of the day, it really puts the entrepreneur at a disadvantage. And it's not something that should be that way. It's something that can be fixed quite easily by keeping the communication lines open.
Sure. Ambo?
Yeah. One of the, when you started Choco Dominic, at 21, like I said, I didn't have any collateral. And even with with Dominica Youth Business Trust being the guarantor for my first loan from NDFD, the equipment that I got, I mean, that was just the basic stuff. And because I could not afford the proper equipment right away, I went for a lot of product development issues, product spoilage along the way, and also being limited to the amount I can produce in a day. And all those, I've been doing chocodomic for 6 years, and really and truly, if I had everything I needed, which are basic in like agro-processing, basic stuff, if I had those things instead of using like pots and pans at the start, I would have been way further, been exporting a long time. Even something as the nutritional facts, it's there now. I got it last year. That's something that's so simple to do. I mean, that was something that's restricted me from exporting, but I had to kind of build up step by step, buy a little slightly bigger equipment and stuff. But I developed the attitude of saying it is what it is and just go slowly. But with the juices, I say I'm not going through that whole step by step thing again. As Emil said, like not having sufficient capital, that killing you. Especially in food processing, if you don't have reliable equipment, you send your product out to get spoilage. That costing you. You know, and I had that issue with chocodomic where I had to recall every single product on the shelf. Basically, starting the business from scratch again. And the issue of raw materials, imported products, cocoa products are cheaper than mine. But it's not something I will complain about, because to solve that at this stage is simply plant more cocoa trees or start ordering in bulk. But to order in bulk, I need the capital to order in bulk. And then I'll be competitive with the imported products. So in my case, it's just an issue of eventually or getting the security for larger financing. And I wish the way DYBT guarantees $20,000. I wish an institution came and guaranteed $200,000.
We'll come to that in a while. But what I'm hearing from you is the issue of lack of communication, the issue of greater transparency of the process, and also a timeline. I think all of these things are within human reach to address, and I think it's important for us to have those conversations, because that's the problem. I think we all say it quietly and, in our small offices and so on. But I think it's important for us to engage in discussion. I think that's listening to you. I'm reflecting that I should have invited somebody from the financial institutions to respond there. But certainly, one of the programs, I'll bring the folks from the financial institutions to respond to these questions and these concerns that you're raising. Because it's important for us to have the conversation in a respectful manner. That's the only way we can solve problems and overcome issues. Now, I'm going to the Parliament on Tuesday to deliver a budget address. And I believe last week or 2 weeks ago, I hinted that the government intends on launching a $30 million loan financing over a 3-year period. And we are setting the interest rate at 1% to target small and medium-sized businesses. So any business that's making $5 million or less annually could access that financing from the aid bank. Now, you have an opportunity to advise the Minister of Finance. Do you think it's a good idea, first of all, or should I put the money elsewhere? Or if you think it's a good idea, what's some of the recommendations you have as to how do we go about implementing this initiative?
But it's a good idea. But as you would hear everybody around the table here echo, the set guidelines so that everybody could know what they need, etc., before they even go to the aid bank. What they're going to get it for, what it is needed for, do they need any market research, do they need to hire somebody to do a proper business plan, etc. Will aid bank be assisting, or will the government have a department that will be assisting with a business plan? Because a lot of times a business plan could take anywhere from $5,000 to $6,000 from your money. So that is money that you already have to put up front. Do you need any security to access that money? Do you need to put a deposit to access that money? And all of these questions are things that will come up, but it is something that I'm sure people will welcome, because there are a lot of people who, not that the $15,000 is a bad thing, is actually a good thing, but it can only meet a certain group of people, right? So $15,000 for me or for Miss Moise will finish in one day, you know, and then that's it for
At
that.
the Aid Bank, there's a second,
hour.
there's a second facility of up to 40,000.
Right, that's what you're going to
No.
Parliament to.
We approved this a few weeks ago. So
So there's the
there's just
$40,000
40,000.
now. So there's 30,000.
So there's
There's 30 million.
so
sorry.
for the respect to COVID response, there's a 15. You can get up to 15,000
right,
if you're making, I believe, $250,000 or less,
right,
and you can access 40,000 if you're making above 250,000. Because we are left out a particular group of people. And someone who was my program and person called, and we took note of that and we responded. So this 3-year $30 million facility will be a completely new facility, and coming with this is also the enactment of a small and medium-sized business act, a piece of legislation that would define micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. That will also define the kind of concessions and fiscal incentives that you will be able to attract, and to really bring the small and medium-sized enterprises into sharper focus and in a more organized manner. Because one of the challenges we have is that you do not have an association that can champion or lobby or articulate the collective issues of small businesses. And it's something I've been saying to small business owners: set up an organization so that there's an organization the government can engage and in discussing. So it's going to come with a whole set of things where you can provide support to you. For example, I'm going to restructure the Ministry of Trade. I am redirecting 60% of the human resources in the Ministry of Trade into a unit that will be called Trade Facilitation Unit. That could assist hucksters and farmers and manufacturers and agro-processors with market research, market intelligence, and even going out to those marketplaces with yourselves to engage the markets, to fetch greater markets for our manufacturers and producers. Because as it is now, the Ministry of Trade is mainly interested in the European Partnership Agreement and COTED and WTO, and all of these things are fine for university students, but when we have things to sell and money to make, we need to ensure that that we can facilitate people. So there are going to be some paradigm shifts in terms of how the government conducts its businesses and how the government uses its money. And on what we use our money in terms of priorities, and we see small business as a major priority. So sometimes we look for a big factory, but if we have 100 businesses employing 10 people each, that's sometimes even more employees than the big factory. I mean, she has 23 people.
right.
Here in Dubla, small village, you have 3 people employed. And there's a multiplier effect to these things. And so small business and medium-sized enterprises.
But PM, will there be a cap on that? Among that,
This is why I am soliciting suggestions from yourselves. So anybody who has suggestions can write to me. We are in the process of defining the conditions under which these loans will be provided and the requirements that we needed. And my view is to allow it to be as nimble as possible. I believe in speed. I believe in things happening faster and quicker. And I think we need to certainly look at our structures and our systems and to see what can we do or what we need to do to improve on the efficiency and the timelines. There must be clear timelines. So if you apply for a loan today, how long should you get it if you have all of the documents?
right.
You see?
But PM, if you notice, we all here maybe didn't know about the 40
Yeah, I didn't know.
thousand that was available, because I remember listening to the program, and then you did say that on the program, but I also remember 1 or 2 people saying that they've been to Aid Bank, and Aid Bank is saying that they haven't got that money as yet. So there seems to be
a miscommunication on the Aid Bank. Okay.
So there seems to be either maybe the communication has blocked somewhere along the way or something to get to them, but that would be welcome news also. Plus that additional amount that you put in place. A lot of business people would be very, very happy to access that, especially if it's also at 1%.
1%.
But the conditions are something that will really, really, really help people. So if clear conditions can be given, not a condition that today you get this piece of paper, then you go, you fill this out, then when you come back, they say, no, you need that other piece of paper.
They tell you bring ID, and they tell you any ID can then you bring your passport, they tell you no, you bring your social credit card, and they tell you no, bring your driver's license. We have a call. Hello. Welcome.
Hello? Just to say to our callers, when you're calling, please turn off your television or lower the volume or your radio so we can hear you. Okay, we lost the caller? Sorry about that. Any one of you want to...
So what are some of the recommendations you have for the Minister of Finance, the government, in terms of the conditions on his loans? And
Well, I think, PM, that, well, first off, it's a good loan to have. The key as far as whether or not it will achieve what you hope that it will achieve is clarity in the features. You know, what does somebody need to bring in? But then not just clarity from your point of view or the customer's point of view. The bank must also share the same vision for that loan. Like we've said, you know, in the media we might hear XYZ is required, and after having a conversation with somebody at the bank, we find out that you might need A, B, C, D, E, F, G as well. That's a turn-off and a discouragement for any, not just business people, but general, clients. And what you might find happening is that, you know, some businesses simply lose out and never take off because that financing was not available. Another issue I would like to mention, and again it goes back to the bank, is the bank prepared in terms of human resource, in terms of structures in place? Are they prepared to see 100 potential clients a day? Do they have processes in place to accommodate that? Have they?
And I mean, these are very important questions, and I'm sure the bank, I'm sure the bank manager is listening.
Staff, you know, have they streamlined the process of acquiring the information from the client, passing it along to the underwriter, and have they streamlined these processes?
So, sorry, you will hold a second, please. A call, please. Hello.
Hi, good night.
Is this our problem or their problem? Their problem? Okay. All right. Please go ahead.
Yes. So I think that's an important part of the process. I'm not too sure what that would look like from your end. Maybe yourself or somebody or a group, a team from your ministry could have a serious conversation with the bank officer.
What I could do, hearing from you, I mean, you all of you here, excellent points. You are practitioners in the business. You know, I will have to maybe set up a group, of yourselves to assist with the formulation of the conditions under which these loans should be granted, and also for us to arrange maybe a subcommittee of the board and management group to meet with yourselves so that there can be an interface, so that those experiences can be shared, that would help shape the new process going forward, because we really have to change our way of conducting business in Dominica, and customer relations is so critically important. So sometimes people don't mind getting a no, once you don't waste the time, and I think we have to get to that point in the country. Is there a call? Hello, please. Welcome. Okay. Ambo?
Yeah, well, from my and my other few agro-processing friends, if there's something very specific in that loan facility for purchasing bulk raw materials and equipment, And as long as you can show that the time frame of how long it will take you to use those materials. I mean, manufacturing is easy. You get your materials, you make the product, you sell it, you get paid. It's like it's a nice rotating thing. So there's something very specific for that to make it nice, easy, and streamlined. And that would be like, that'd just be fantastic.
I mean, in your line of business, I believe the budget might be very exciting for you, and all of you really, because we'll also have, and I don't want to give you all everything in budget address now, because we'll also have a waiver of import duty and VAT on packaging material, and also on equipment and machinery, which I believe is a major plus.
Great.
Major plus for manufacturers, agro-processors, and people in your business. So all in an effort to create more jobs in the economy and to help sustain the investments that all of you are making and so forth. So there's a lot of very interesting stuff, and there's some tax issues and so on that we look about. But the other side to the discussion though is that we also have to look at the issue of greater accountability. People come for the monies for a particular business. How do we ensure that they use the money for that particular business and not go to St. Martin and be on Front Street buying a gold chain? A gold chain in Front Street there, and playing big man with people money in St. Martin.
Well, going back to something very basic, with the Dominica Youth Business Trust, and even with NDFD, who I have my loan with, they are very much involved in what I do. And I think business owners should humble themselves sometimes, because at the end of the day, it's still not your money. So you need to, and sometimes you being your own boss, sometimes you might lapse, sometimes you might not stick to your schedule. So I do see there's nothing wrong in someone or your loan officer calling just to find out that you've done this at this time. I personally don't see anything wrong, and I think so far since I've started my small business, I feel like I've been going okay in terms of the relationship with, even if the small business is in unit in the government. They come, they visit. So far, I've done every money we've been given, we've done what we say. So I don't see no issue there. Yeah.
I think Ambo makes a good point. There seems to be a model that works with the NDFD. I'm not too sure if it's a model that can scale for larger loans, because NDFD probably gives small loans. But I think the core of that model is what works, and the fact that he said that they're very much involved, I think that is probably what's lacking in some other banking relationships as far as it relates to small business. Maybe loan officers need to be more hands-on and be more involved with keeping that borrower accountable. So let's say Ambo says that he's taking this loan to buy inventory, or to buy raw materials, I should say, and it's $100,000, and he gives a timeline. He as a customer should expect a call along that timeline, and that's basic enough, but it's not something that is often done.
That's one quick point.
Sure.
In the same way, like, okay, I'll come back to it. Talk, I'll come back to it. I'll come back to it. Go.
You want to say something?
I want to say something.
No, I
Okay,
was.
please.
What I believe it should happen is, if somebody take a loan, I mean, in everything that you do, it's one process after the other, right? If somebody is taking a loan to do something, then they should be given the first amount to start to do that, and then when you're done with that, then they give you the other set to do that. So then the loan officer over in charge is supposed to visit what is being done, ensure that it's being done the way they said that it's supposed to be done, and then be given the the next amount. Okay, in other words, I come to you and I tell you, I want to buy a fryer, I need stock. Understood. I need to maybe pay whatever. what is the first thing I need? I need the fryer before I need the stock. So after I purchase the fryer, if it's $100,000, you give me $40,000 for the fryer, I buy the fryer. Okay, we clear the fryer, or you know the fryer is coming, you have documents that, okay, the fryer is on its way, then you disburse the other set of money to purchase the stock, the raw material. So when the stock is on its way, then I get the money to buy. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you are sure that that person is spending that money for that, for what they ask you know, requested it for.
Okay. Yeah, what I was saying is that in Dominica we have a very informal business organization. Many times you find it's a one-man show, or maybe it's a family thing. And you know, in a formal way, you'd have your board meetings. Before you make great big decisions, everybody have to make sure they agree. So there is accountability. So even if they got the loan, you know, they would make sure that everything's done properly. But in Dominica, is sometimes we don't take business as seriously as we should.
And this is why the government has been encouraging people, business owners, to register, to file with the DSS, you know, be part of the system, because when these funds are made available, people are scrambling to get the documents and so forth. And most people, as I understand it, they do not have a business account at the financial institution, so they cannot show their financial transactions. The money is in their personal name. And so you may be in business for 25 years, but you cannot show a business history.
Right.
And I think we need to, this is why I'm saying that there has to be an organization or association of small business owners, and the legislation, I'm hoping, can encourage this. It's not that the government wants to force people. I think we're doing it for the person's own good. You know, if you're compliant with the DSS and you're filing and so forth, and I think it will certainly help.
Yeah.
And BM, every time you mention that organization for small business, I am always saying I'm for it 100%, because it's a lot of small businesses. If we come together in an organization, we can help each other, we can support each other. You see, I need a container, but I need stock, or say I need raw material, I need chicken, I need fries, but I cannot afford to bring a container. I don't have anywhere to store a container. You understand? But if 4 of us need chicken and 4 of us need fries, and we can come together.
You can.
Before we'll
you
fix
know,
that.
before we'll fix it.
And you can do that, and then you could have a consolidated bun. So you 3-4 of you can bring it, and it's in a bun, and you take from what you need at any given time, and you pay the taxes on that particular stuff. Otherwise, you'll have to clear the entire 40-foot container, and then you using your own capital that you need to do other things. And by the way, this is also village politician speaking. I'm a businessman here. We have a WhatsApp question there. Can a Dominican living overseas access the loan to open a new enterprise? The answer is yes, but you must have the enterprise located in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Okay, very simple response to you. But yes, you live overseas, you invest in Dominica, creating jobs in Dominica, the business located in Dominica, you can certainly benefit from this new loan facility. Now, let us talk about the other challenges that you may have, you may face in terms of marketing and sourcing of materials. The shipping process of obviously way forward is addressing that for many people. Then we have customs, the customs processes and the custom duties, and the port procedures. I mean, I heard you say, "Oh my God," when I mentioned customs and port and so on. Tell me about this. Which piece you want to?
Well, PM, I don't have any problem with the port, because I have a broker, and then he prepares my document, and I pay the port. I'm just concerned about, the high custom charges, especially on seasoning, PM.
Like what
my
seasoning?
God,
like
the seasoning that processed seasoning that I use for my chicken. It's absurd. A lot of high custom duties. I've been paying customer a lot of money. You bring in and you say, okay, I have just a small packages, and then when you hear the thousands that you have to pay, you wonder about, oh my God. So
and
I
you
want to
import
know
the seasonings from where?
from America.
From the US?
Yes.
Okay.
Some of them I order from the US. Some of them I get here. I use a lot of local seasoning, like celery, parsley, thyme, these things. You know, I purchase a lot of things locally. You know, all my veggies.
I'll cross-check it. Sometimes what you have is that because of the arrangement within CARICOM and the OECS, you have to protect some of the businesses within the region. So you'll find that the duties will be very high. So, for example, wooden furniture, the duties on is very high, because we want to protect local furniture makers.
I understand this.
You know, so but I believe that it comes a time when we have to revisit those things and to see whether they are available or they are accessible within the region and so on. Look, I'll come to you, Emil, 1 second.
Yes.
There's a question. Are there any policies that we put in place to help facilitate the operating cost of a business in Dominica? Well, I believe that the loan facility that we'll be putting in place over the 3-year period will certainly assist in operating costs. I'm not sure if I understand your question very well, but in terms of the loan, certainly operating costs will be factored in this. In terms of being able to access financing, because a lot of challenges, people have the machinery, they have the raw material, but you need some capital to keep moving and so forth. Emily, you want to
Yes, definitely, PM. I will touch on customs and the challenges. I would like to hasten to say, first of all, that I have a very good relationship with the comptroller, Mr. Deja, Mr. Philip, Mr. Christmas, Mr. Badwell on the port, and his entire staff. We work together very well, right? And they listen, they act, right? So, for instance, something that what Ms. Moise is talking about here is not necessarily customs, but is the system that is in place. As the PM was saying, you have different duties for outside of CARICOM, within OECS, etc. But I think a lot of these have to be reviewed, PM, because in Dominica, I find we always play the game fair, right? But the other islands do not really play the same game that we play in at all. So whereas in Dominica, we may keep the duties at 150% for something outside of CARICOM, you have other islands within CARICOM who has that 40%, and we have it at 150. So who are we really protecting? You know, that is one thing. Recently, during the time of COVID, the government put something in place at the customs, which was maybe 2 years out, but it was fast-tracked because of COVID and not wanting too many people on the port. So you have the courier companies and the shipping companies right now, they pay a deposit to customs, and we deplete money from that. So we're supposed to have an account with customs, we put money on that account, so people like Yuri, etc., Yuri cannot go to customs anymore with his documents and then whisper in a customs officer's ear and then they pass it for him. Everything has to have an invoice, and it works out very well for the government, for the country on a whole. It works out very well. I have absolutely no issue with that system. However, we've worked with Mr. Deja and so on. They put more officers in the shed. They've done different things to facilitate the system. However, PM, you have a situation where that part has been improved for the government and for the customs, where they make a lot more money right now, right? I can tell you that for a fact. I don't need to have a calculator, but
well, I hope so with that.
Yes, you make a lot more money right now. But there are certain things in the background that needs to change. Another thing I would like you to do, to consider before I get into what needs to change, is the de minimis system. The de minimis system is a very good thing that you put in place, where anything below $150, people get it duty free. So you just walk out of the port, but that is with the freight and the cost of the item. for customs purposes and seeing that the customs and the government is making more money, I would advise to make it easier for the people, because right now everybody orders everything online. That train has already left the station.
But you see, the issue with this, I mean, I introduced this thing a few years ago.
Right.
Because of the criticisms which we were receiving on the customs on the port in respect to small packages. But at the end of the day, you know, for these things to work and for it to be replicated and even advanced, people have to follow the rules and the law. And so we have a situation where people are taking advantage of it outside of the law, outside of what it was intended to do. And so it is affecting small businesses in Dominica, because people are not buying from the small business in Dominica. They buy these things, and so I think, and it was never really for any and every item. You see, it was really to facilitate small packages.
Yeah, but I think customs are doing a very good job in terms of arresting any situation where...
I came to a point where I was going to end it.
No, I don't think even customs would be happy if you did something like that.
No, because it is really, I mean, we won't change it, but I'm really appealing to the public to let us do it right. Let us do it properly.
I agree.
Because it helps. It helps in the facilitation of many people, and we understand that. But we have to do it right so that we can see the true benefit of it.
I agree. But then, in terms of, just so I can get away from the customs situation, in terms of the improvements that you have made and the extra money that is being made, there's a situation that still exists with customs, with the penalties, right, that the business people have to face. Like, I have to sit and ensure I do my entry properly, right? So I have to spend my entire weekend or spend 2 days doing an entry. Then if I go to customs with that particular entry and there's a mistake on it, so I put 10 instead of 12, the kind of penalties that I'm faced with as a law-abiding citizen who's trying to walk the straight and narrow, because of that little situation there, it's best I walk down the road and shoot a man.
But this might be more
because I will get bail
issue.
And then I will be still walking.
Discretion.
But yeah, but PM, another thing is that the officers down in the sheds and so on are not allowed to use their discretion at this time.
Well,
it has to go through this document now has to go through investigation, and then that investigation now takes about 4 weeks. So depending on the customs officer that is at investigation, when you go to them, he's on his lunch break. Then you go back a little later, then he's...
I'm sure the FS is
that punitive measure, those punitive measures, they're really archaic. And then for business people, I mean, customs should be more engaged in terms of going out there looking for drugs, looking for smugglers, people who are really trying to break the law. But people like Miss Moise and myself and Yuri and Ambo, etc., who trying to do things properly. I have an investigation taking place at customs now for about 5 weeks for a cooler, a hose, and some other items that was in a cooler. And that investigation is still going on. Those items cost less than $100 US. I've already reordered them and get them. And the investigation is still going on, right? Within that time, a man would have shot another man in broad daylight and get bail. Whilst I'm still waiting on my investigation to take place. So there are certain things certain penalties and investigations that have to be looked at, because at the end of the day, the business people gets a criminal record for trying to do things right and making a simple. So you go to customs, you're walking on eggshells.
I mean, the law allows for investigations and so forth, but at the end of the day, you know, one has to look at the issue of personalities and the issues of attitudes and the issue of how do we go about carrying out these processes.
Right.
I mean, every action anybody in the country who is employed in the state takes is in accordance. It has to be in accordance with legislation. So myself as Prime Minister, I only have authority that the Constitution gives to me and certain laws.
Correct.
And the cabinet cannot take a decision that the law doesn't allow it to take. This is why the AG sits on the right and not the Prime Minister. You know, he'll tell us, look, this decision is not in conformity with any law. It can't be taken. So we have to start with the law. Mm-hmm. And the problem in this country is that a lot of people go about carrying out their duties without reference to the law. You know, if you're going to do something, you must draw the person's attention to the law that you're dealing with, the section that you're dealing with, the clause that you're dealing with, so the person knows exactly what he or she is dealing with. But so I'm taking note of those points. Mm-hmm. We're taking note of those points, and we'll certainly have a conversation with the Controller of the Customs to discuss those points. But what I'm hearing is not necessarily an issue of law. It's really an issue of attitudes and something.
Well, the
now, tell
attitudes
me what the taxes now. This at the ports and so forth. I mean, we calculate the impositions, the custom duties and the VAT in a compounded manner.
Yes.
Yuri, you have any views on that?
My views on that, I guess my views are similar to anybody else's.
Yeah.
The fact that
I can tell you, I have always been opposed to this thing. I'm trying. I don't think personally. I don't think it's fair, and and so it's something I'm going to be looking at. I've raised this in Parliament before and in public domain. Mm-hmm. That the compounded approach to these taxes may not be the route to go, and I believe that if we discontinue, we may very well see more revenues coming in.
Exactly.
Definitely.
From the point of view of a small
people buy
person,
more.
It just makes everything more expensive.
Yeah.
And one point I'd like to make is on the same thread, is that particularly for items that you cannot source here or you cannot source next door, sometimes you wonder, but should I even continue? I say that because there are many things, and depending on the line of business you're in, you have no choice but to import certain things. For example, in photography and videography, which is very intensive on technology equipment. They might be small packages, but they're very expensive. And it's not something that, at least for now, that people stock at the fans or any one of our typical outlets or retailers. It's not something that I can buy next door. So it's something that I must order. And to have to, how to put it nicely, it might feel to some that the process, specifically the amount of customs and the percentage you pay on certain items, is almost punitive, and it's definitely prohibitive in terms from a small business point of view. Because if I had the option to buy it here, I think most of us would do that.
Yeah.
Given that we cannot, having to pay that much in taxes or duties or customs, whichever category it falls into, it definitely makes things more difficult. And there's a trickle-down effect, because often the business owner will pass it on to his customers if he can. Depending on the type of business you're in, you cannot. If you're in a tight market, like for example Mrs. Moyes, there's only so much you can do in terms of the price of a meal. Okay. And so you as a business owner end up taking the hit, which means that maybe your employees might take the hit because you cannot pay them a certain amount, and it's just a trickle-down effect throughout the economy when the customs duties and other ancillary taxes are so high.
So it's something I believe we have to look at. I'm with you guys on this. Yes, I'm the Minister of Finance, so maybe we'll say, well, Skerrit, you can change it, But I would prefer go through the consultative process with this. But as we've done, we're reviewing our tax system, even our income tax regime. We're getting some support from the International Monetary Fund to review our income tax, and we have reduced the bands like 5% in the past, and also increased the threshold from 12,000 to 30,000. But my view is I prefer allow people to have all of their money and let them spend it how they want. Yeah. And then you have more consumption taxes in the country. So what I'm hoping that we can look at is maybe having a flat income tax rate in the country rather than different bands, so that there's greater equity in terms of the income tax, and then people would have more disposable income, so they'll take home more of what they labor for, and allow them to spend it and so on. So there are some structural and systemic changes that we need to look at in the country to allow for the ease of doing business, for goods to be cheaper on the shelves, and for people to have more money in their pockets. You know, because we really have to, in this country, to allow more people to make money. You know, and I'm on a mission to with the time that I have left in public office to make the kind of changes that I believe that are required now. You know, in light of all of these global challenges that we've had, with COVID-19, we don't know how long this thing's gonna last. And I think we have to have, in many instances, some paradigm shifts. But at the end of the day, we can change legislation, we can change regulations, but I believe we ourselves in the country, we need to change our attitudes.
Right.
I don't think that we have a culture in our country of celebrating success. And you know, you have a business, you're doing well, you have customers, and you want to now improve on your facilities and your business. And men watch you and say, boy, my money that boy. You know what I'm saying? Boy, I go stop by from Mr. and so on. And then you find yourself losing customers because you made the place comfortable, you put AC for them, you know, you get some better tables, better cutlery, you know, so the packaging is improved, you now have the nutritional facts there, you know, and you're now doing this canvas prints and so forth. And so let me improve on this and so on. I really think that we have to get to the area where we celebrate people's success. We celebrate people doing well, because that's the only way the country is going to grow.
That's true.
If everybody is poor, what happens to the country? But if if people are making money, all of us will benefit. Because you're able to create more jobs, you'll reinvest money. You know. There's more taxes, more consumption taking place.
Pay your staff better.
People's salaries will increase because you're making more money and so forth. So we really have to speak to this point. You know, I find that we like to feel sorry for people. We like to pity people, and so like when Mr. buy like some from Mr. He'll help Mr. out. You know what I'm saying? And I think we have to change this attitude, because you work from what time you say 6?
I used to. Right now I come to work about maybe about 10, 11.
10, but in the days you used to work up to 11 o'clock.
I work to 11.
You know what I'm saying?
PM.
So how do you enjoy what you work for? You know,
so tired,
you know, people are afraid to buy a decent vehicle because they don't want people to say they're driving the money to buy that and so on.
We laugh, but it's true.
It's a serious problem.
Is really a fact.
How do we deal with this thing? Because I mean, somebody needs to look at this youngster here and want to emulate him.
Of course.
And Yuri has left his job, you know, and I want to say hello to your grandfather, Mr. Egbert Charles. You know, you're my friend, I was with you a long time, and I get the sense that you got a lot of discipline from him, you know. But you know, and yourself. Yes, I see you working hard. You have been able to, Emil, have been able to look at the way the world is changing and recognize that the core business you've been involved in, and you have to diversify to survive. And how do we get our young people who are at school to emulate you, to want to be you, to want to work hard like you, and to enjoy life, and to enjoy what you work hard for? And this is why I think that we have a serious liquidity issue in the bank, because there's a lot of money in the banks. People are not spending it. Every time they go now with online banking, they go on their phone and they watch how much money they have and say, boy, I have a lot of money in the bank now, boy. But they're not spending it, they're not enjoying life and so forth. And we're not going to go to, when our maker comes, we're not going to go with it. We're going to leave it back. And so how do we make use of it while we're there? And I think we have to have those conversations in America. Am I correct? Or
no, it's true.
You're a different Dominican than I am?
No, it's not true. And a very good example is what you say. Even with my business and friends and family, when I travel, you find that my overseas friends are very quick to ask how can they invest, at what point are they able to invest, and they are very serious about it. But then in Dominica, you don't get that.
No.
And not that they don't have the money, but it's just not in the culture, or because of the bad things that have happened with people who've tried it. I don't know, but they just don't have that culture of investing in each other. You know, everything is a one-man show. You know, if somebody want to come in, they want to have half the company. They don't know. You know, it's like 20 people come together. You know, and let's just grow that together.
Yeah. But you see, PM, I love to speak freely, and then what you say there is something that is very true. We have a culture here where we want to see Ambo get off his feet, get up from his feet and reach to a certain level. We need to have Ambo at that level where we can hold him, right? But anytime he passes our reach, we're not happy with him again. We have to see how we can break him down, break him back down to bring him within our reach, right? So Mrs. Moise, same thing. She's from Petit Savan, and she has to remain in Petit Savan in the shack that she grew up in, right? Because anytime she improves on that shack and builds a mansion somewhere else because of her success, she's now a bad person, and she's a wicked person, and she's a greedy person, and everything else, right? But it has to start with us. Why shouldn't you say, I am making money, I'm selling that for $6,000 or whatever because I want to make money on it? We shouldn't have that attitude where, boy, I don't really want to make money now. I just want a little thing. I just want to survive, and so on. We need to get that attitude away. I've had the experience myself in the year 2000 or maybe 2001. I bought a Lexus from Al Motors. And I just so happened to go down to the port to clear some stuff because my pickup couldn't accommodate it at the time. So I went on the port to clear some stuff. And the port security at the time, the lady, I can see the lady's face in my eyes still. When I came in there with the Lexus, she was like, Emil, that you driving now? When I finished, take out pictures. You know?
It's a serious
so
issue.
why that sort of attitude because of that sort of thing? Now I might say that here openly, and then people may be saying all sorts of different things, but I'm okay with that. You know, people will always talk, people will always be against, people will be for, and that sort of thing. But it's an attitude that we need to, you know, get away from. But at the end of the day, we need to reward people. Everybody needs to be rewarded. Yuri needs to be rewarded for his work and live a comfortable life. So should Ambo, so should, you know, all other business people who are successful and doing whatever it is that they have to do.
It's a serious, we have to have a cultural shift in this. I mean, even in my case as Prime Minister of the country, I mean, 32,000 in any currency is a lot of money. I'll be the first to admit it. But one gets the sense that there is a feeling that, you know, maybe the Prime Minister should be staying in some banana shed or something. And I'm hearing talk about the Prime Minister as a person cooking meals for him and so on, you know, and all these things. So it's really unfortunate that that's the kind of attitude we have in the country, and I think we have to change this. Otherwise, we will never be able to get to the point where we need to get to as a country, where people who work hard, like yourselves, and you have put in all of your parents and your family properties to create jobs, and you're seeing the returns on this investment, and you're not making it and so on. So we really have to change this. The final question I want to ask you is regards to access to labor, availability of labor, people to work. Because I often hear people say, well, we have jobs, there are no jobs in Dominican, so we need jobs and so on. But when I speak to the people in the private sector, they tell me they can't get people to work. And sometimes when they get some people, they can't keep them because they leave. You know, so is that, are you experiencing those challenges in terms of availability of labor?
Yes, PM. I wouldn't say that the availability of labor. I would say, I'll put it in a different context. Young people in Dominica, they want the job, but they want it at their convenience. You understand? So if there's a CO Friday night, I cannot work Friday night. Understand? There is something coming up, I need an outfit, I can work, so I can get that outfit to go to that. There is, it's carnival time, I have to get that day off. You understand? But I, as a business owner, and I have been there, when I know carnival season, I ask in advance, which day do you want off? Because I open both days. Which day do you want off? First come, first serve. So if 20 people want off on Monday, I cannot give 20 people off on Monday. Okay? And that's how I work with it. Other businesses, you have to work. You understand? Or one thing that I'm being quite frank and quite honest. One thing in business in Dominica, and I will say it, and I will say it proud, you cannot correct your staff. I don't call them staff, I call them team members. That's how we work. You cannot correct young people. It doesn't matter how you correct them, you are wrong. It's your business, and things are supposed to be done. Everything in Crispies has procedures. That's the procedure for the chicken. It cannot change. When you come to Crispies on Monday and you come Tuesday, you're supposed to taste the same chicken. Understood? That is the procedure for making the juice. Okay? That's how things have to be packaged, because so there's no cross-contamination. That's how you have to clean, because I like a clean environment. A restaurant is supposed to be a clean environment. And you come and you correct them. You put too much bleach there. You know, this is how you're supposed to do it. And they're angry. You are not supposed to do that on the laptop. And they're angry. You understand? Staff have walked out of my restaurant for that. And they walk away. Now, 2 weeks and 3 weeks after, I get in text messages. They want to come back. You see, people, I don't think the young people, they are not focused on what it is that they want. Dominican young people too like to see war. I didn't grow up like that. You know, everything is, they have to go out and they have to go out. There is time for everything. There's a time to go out, there's a time to see one, there's a time to work. You have to work, you must work. They leave Dominica and they go and they work 3 jobs. When they're in Dominica, they don't want to stay in one. And I'm always saying it's because things too sweet in Dominica. You leave your job and you'll survive in Dominica. You leave your job in America and you go live under a bridge.
Anybody else wants to wait on this place?
You see, PM, the thing about, I fully understand what Mrs. Moise is saying. I've heard that cry from many business people. But I have to knock wood and say I'm very thankful for my staff. Right, especially my staff at We Forward and DPEX. I can safely say I can leave Dominica and leave them in charge, and they do a very good job. These people are the reason for We Forward, for example, being where it is today. The staff who I have working there, from Mrs. Lisa Bastian, I can mention her name, who started off We Forward whilst I was in the US and she was down here in Dominica working on it. She did every single thing that she had to do. And then right now, the people who I have calling customers, I get daily compliments that, you know, your staff, your customer service is on point and everything. I'm very, very happy with them. What we have to do is to weed out the bad ones from the onset. You're messing around, then you have to leave. You're not going to stay here and contaminate the rest of my staff with your attitude. You know, there's some people who I have at DPEX, if they leave, I have to shut down the business. Right? Plain and simple, because of their attitude. So I believe that is something that needs to be arrested, not just in the private sector, but also in the government service, PM, because I can tell you, there's some people. No offense to anybody, right? That's why but there are some people, and I have nothing against the forestry division or anything like that, but you have some people in the public service, it is better you put them to guard some forestry trail or something and pay them the same amount of money than to keep them in the office or the section that they are in, because they really, really, really give the country a bad name. They really give the country a bad name. And in some cases, if it takes $200,000 or whatever it is to send them home, pay them off and let them go, it is better to do that than to keep these people there, because they give the country a very, very bad name. So it happens in the private sector, and it happens in the public service. They're very, very good public servants, very, very good ones who stay. You see lights in the ministry on all the time and the financial center because they work late. But there's some of them that just do not need to be there at all. So it happens with all of us.
Yeah. And I want to add something to what I said, because at the beginning when I started, I gave props to my staff and my supervisors. Remember that? So as Emily said that, Emily, I have a very good team too.
Good.
I was speaking in general.
Of course,
because remember, I have worked 2 companies, you understand, and I was giving a general. But I have very good staff. I have very good staff, and my supervisors are great. Can't say anything.
We're happy to hear.
Okay.
Now, we are about to wrap up. I have taken all of your time. I want to certainly thank you for, I think we went over time, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. I want to thank you for this engagement. When I started this program, Anupali, it was really for the Prime Minister to speak to the country. But I felt I better bring people to speak directly to the country rather than speaking to me and then I report. Because a lot of what I say is based on what people say to me on the streets and say to me at the offices and so on. But I'm very happy for this. I think it's a very transparent and forthright engagement. I believe the country is better off now than tonight than we were earlier today. And I think we have to continue that conversation. From the government standpoint, we are very open to advice and to recommendations. So those of you who are here and those of you who are following, any suggestions which you have, feel free to write to us to make those recommendations to us. And I want to thank you for this time. Clearly there are opportunities and we just have to create them. And we have to follow through on our vision, as I have heard from you tonight. You have gone into areas that people are questioning, why are you doing this and why are you leaving the job to do this, and how can you compete and do something new. But I think with perseverance, with determination, we can certainly overcome it. And I believe that we really have to support each other. I believe we have to support each other and allow people to grow, because that's the only way we can create wealth in the country. We can grow the economy. We can create more jobs in the economy, and that our way of life and our standard of living would be improved by having money circulating in the economy, and so forth. And these are the things we need, and to allow and to celebrate people's successes and so on. And so I'm very, very happy to have you here, and thank you for accepting my invitation to be here. And I maintain that the private sector has to be the driver of the economy, and the question is, how do we how do we get to this point? And I think it's by engaging ourselves and really supporting what is local. There's so many things that we can do, and of course the government stands ready to assess the various challenges and to act on sound recommendations to boost business activity, create more jobs, and stimulate greater economic activity. I personally understand the risk which people expose themselves in to create jobs in the economy and to assist with the country's economic development. And I think all of us have to appreciate this and to see what we can do to certainly advance things. Again, I want to remind the public that we're in the hurricane season, and we have seen some weather events in the past couple of days, and in the region as well. We have to be prepared. There's an approaching storm this week,
If you have not done so, I urge you to step up your preparation efforts. Ensure that you do what you can do to protect your homes and secure your families. Stock up on basic non-perishable food items, water, batteries, and essential medication. To our elderly, please secure medical information, and as long as you're able to, purchase at least 3 months' supply of medicine. I'm also urging those of us who are better able to look out for the less fortunate within our communities, who may need assistance as we go through the hurricane season. On Tuesday, as I said, I go to the Parliament to present an over $900 million budget to guide government spending over the next financial year. In the middle of a pandemic, with economic consequences for every sector, we have devised ways to cushion the impact and set the stage for lasting recovery. I look forward to sharing our plans with you on Tuesday. We will be back here on Opali next week, Sunday, God willing, for a post-budget discussion. So do join me then. Have a productive week. God bless you. God bless our country. God bless our efforts. This is our country to build. We will get help from outside, but the hard work has to be done by ourselves in Dominica. Can we build the dynamic Dominica that we all envision for ourselves? I believe we can. And with all of these positive contributions from so many individuals, and including my guests here tonight, I believe that we can make it, and we can make it, and we can cause it to happen. Last week, I asked you to read Romans 8, verses 41 to 39. Tonight, I invite you to read Psalms 45 and reflect upon Psalms 45. That was my reading for today. So I will share with you my reading every Sunday and at the end of this program. God bless you. All of us, as I said, we're in the hurricane season. Let us take no chances. We're monitoring the system very closely. We continue to pray that it doesn't affect us. But in the event that it does, we're prepared. Thank you, and we look forward to next Sunday. God bless. Thank you.
We are in the hurricane season. Here are some tips to keep your families and communities safe. Before a hurricane, ensure that you know your emergency shelters. Contact the Office of Disaster Management for information on shelters closest to you. Have disaster supplies on hand. Non-perishable canned food and water. Portable battery-operated radios. Flashlights and extra batteries, essential medicines, first aid kits, cash and bank cards. In the home, protect your windows. A low-cost approach is to put up plywood panels. Trim branches away from your home and cut all dead or weak branches on any trees on your property. Check into your home and auto insurance. Confirm that policies are valid and coverage is appropriate. Make arrangements for pets and livestock. Develop an emergency communication plan. Make sure that all family members know what to do. Teach family members how and when to turn off gas, electricity, and water. During a hurricane watch, listen to the radio or television for hurricane progress reports. Avoid open flames such as candles and kerosene lamps as a source of light. If power is lost, turn off major appliances to reduce power surge when electricity is restored. Store drinking water in clean jugs, bottles, and cooking utensils. During a hurricane warning, if you need to evacuate your home, lock up and go to the nearest shelter. Take blankets or sleeping bags to the shelter. Listen constantly to a radio or television for official instructions. Store valuables and personal papers in a waterproof container on the highest level of your home. Stay inside, away from windows and glass doors.